My name is Roy Valverde. I grew up in a third world country, Costa Rica. That's in Central America, next to Panama, in the Panama Canal. Growing up in Costa Rica, well, being in third world is full of jungles, still full of jungles, tropical rainforest. We grew up in the mountains. My family was from the mountains. Actually, my dad, he and his family owned coffee bean plantations and some banana and plantain plantations. So we were pretty far out in the country where they would do all the work and then they export the fruit out to the city. Called San Isidro de El General. That's the name of the place. My parents' relationship, from what I remember, and I've been told, Costa Rica, my grandfather, great-grandfather, and my father, they worked really hard during the day and they drank lots of alcohol during the night. It was a little bit of a cultural thing back in those days. Costa Rica was full of machismo, where the man rules and he is allowed to do pretty much anything he wants to, as long as he provides for the family. So my father was a hard-working man, but at the same time, he wasn't very nice to my mother, which led them to eventually get separated and divorced. We pretty much grew up with my mother with a single mom. When my mother had 4 kids, it's when my father left us. He would get drunk and disappear for months. They'd show up one day, stay for a couple days, disappear again. A lot of times he didn't send my mother any money, so we lived a very poor life in a 1-bedroom house. If you call it a house, it's just a bedroom with a little faucet in the corner with a community bathroom, and we just take a bath, bed bath pretty much. I remember going to kindergarten. That's how we lived right there in a little tiny little home. We all slept in one bed. It was like a twin bed. You know, mom and 2 kids on top and 2 kids at the bottom, and we alternate. And then we eat on the floor, sitting on the floor. But I remember there was a lot of joy. There was a lot of happiness in the air, but we were really poor. Well, that's the interesting thing about life. When you're a kid, you only know what you know. We didn't have television, we didn't have radio. For a long time, we didn't even have electricity. We just had candlelight. So you go to sleep when the sun goes down, and my mother would say, "Hey guys, the sun's going down." So we'd all get our beds ready, because we didn't have money for candles either. And then as soon as the sun came up, voila, you got up to go. And every night at 6 o'clock, we listened to the Ave Maria, and we listened to the news of the country. So one day when I was listening to the Ave Maria, then the news, in the news there was an announcement that says, "American family is looking for children to adopt. Anyone interested, please call this number." So I heard it the first time at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that night I had a pencil with me. After the Ave Maria, I listened to the news, and when the commercial came on again, I wrote down the phone number and I asked my mother, my biological mother, "Can I be adopted? There's this great opportunity to go to America and be adopted by this family." And my mother said, "Why do you want to be adopted?" I said, "Well, I could play in the snow, I can explore the mountains, I can travel. It's my opportunity." And so my mother gave me a coin. And I told my brother Paul, I said, "Paul, come with me, I'm gonna make a phone call." So we walked about half a mile to the main road. There was a phone, payphone, and a light. And I called the number, and the lady answered. And I said, "Hi, my name is Roy. I'm here with my brother. My mother said we could be adopted." And she said, "Yeah, what?" She was surprised, and she said, "Is she there with you?" And said, like, "No, my mother's back up home. She says we could be adopted." She spoke Spanish, of course. And then the lady couldn't really quite understand what I was saying, because I think I was too excited. So my brother's like, "Here, let me talk." So my brother took the phone and like, "Hi, my name is Paul. Yes, we understand there's an opportunity to be adopted." And the lady's like, "Yeah." And she explained to him kind of what was going on. Next thing we know, she says, "I'll be there tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
My name is Marta Eugenia Piedra Barrantes. That's my name before I got married. Now I'm known as Marta Valverde. I grew up in Costa Rica in a really small town. It was the border with Panama. It's called Paso Canoas. I born in this place called Alajuela. I moved with my dad and the rest of the family over there. That's where I grew up. It was a really small town. It was simple. Everything was so simple. Also, it was like you are in this side, you're in Costa Rica, and you cross the road, you're in Panama, and they live. It was kind of like a different world. In the other side of the road, they have a bunch of like American things. They have a bunch of stores, and they have things that we don't have in our side in Costa Rica. So it was kind of fun. It was like living in 2 different worlds. It was always full of people, but the people that live in there, we knew each other. My parent relationship, I never know because I didn't grow up with both of them. My parents were like really young. They listening to their stories. They didn't have like a really good family. They were mostly on their own, like a really young age. They got together, ended up living together. My mom was pregnant at that time, I don't know. They had 3 children and I'm the youngest of those 3 children that they have. And somehow, I don't know how they decided, but I ended up with my dad. I don't even remember my mom. I met her when I was 20 years old. I think I might see her when I was younger a few times, but I'm not sure and I don't remember really well. So I grew up with my dad and with my stepmom. My brother, and my older sister ended up with my mom. So I grew up with my brother and 2 stepbrothers from my stepmom. So I don't know how the relationship was before. I guess not good because they didn't end up together. What fascinated me as a child, it was sports. I love sports. I love volleyball. I did track, and also I like adventures. I went with my siblings. We always went and swim in rivers, and we climb trees and eat fruits from the tree. So I like to do crossword puzzles. I like to be with my friends. I really like watch the horses, and I even learned how to make a horse sound. It was pretty cool. I feel like they answer me sometimes. And it was fun. We live in this, I live in these 4 small houses across the street from that area. So it was fun because sometimes every time the little airplanes were about to leave, we just all run and go to this huge rock that was in front of our house and climb in the rock and wait for the airplanes to leave and throw all that air in. It was one of the funnest things, and so it was many times that they did it. I had a good time with my friends. How we meet, I just came back from my mission. I think it was my second Sunday coming back from my mission, and I think it was Roy in Costa Rica for...
My second Sunday.
Oh, second Sunday too. So he got baptized, they met this family, and so he became friends with the little kids in the family. And so the ward that I assist, they live in there. He's friends when he was little. And so when he came and visit them, I was working in the young women's with the little girl that played with him when he was little. And so she introduced us. That was the first time that we met, and nothing happens. I think he wasn't looking for like relationships in Costa Rica or stay there because he just went for a short time, so.
That is correct. That's about how I remember it as well. I was only going to be there for, hoping 3 months. I ended up staying for 5 years. Well, I can answer that. How did we start dating? It all began as I attended a steak dance. We used to have steak dances in Costa Rica. I think they still do. And at a steak dancer, I noticed that she was a very, very good dancer. I don't dance very well at all. I still don't. And while I was there at the dance, I believe we got talking, we had some common friends, and we began to dance together. And from there, we got to know each other a little better, and we became good friends, and then we decided to get married.
That was very speedy. But yeah, we became really good friends. And I was going to come to Utah to visit. So I need help with I think that's when we started to be like more friends. I had to go get a visa to come visit here, and I was just really nervous. I don't know how. I never left the country at that point. I mean, I went to Guatemala for my MTC, but that's it. And so I was really nervous about getting my visa. So one of my best friends asked me to call him to see if he can help him because he has experience with those things. So I called him to ask him about that, and he called his bishop that was work at the MTC, and so his bishop told him to tell me these advices. So after that, he calls me every single day, like to tell me if I knew about the news, and so he just kept calling me every day. And so one day he didn't call me, and so I missed him calling me. So I was like, why is he not calling me today?
Yeah.
So I called him and see how he was doing, and so we keep being friends, and here we are.
That's how it happened.
We decided to have children right after we got married. I was almost 26 when I got married, so I thought it was a good time. I didn't want to wait longer. And so I got pregnant right at the honeymoon, and we had a beautiful girl, Dilana. We actually talk about what kind of family we want a little bit. Not that we like decide how many kids we want to have or anything like that, but we decided that if we couldn't have children, we were going to adopt. And he was adopted, so he already used to those things. So we decided that we were going to adopt. And so, but I got pregnant, and so I didn't have any problem getting pregnant. So we have 3. And after we have Daniela, 5 years after Jimmy. Yep, I want to have more, but I think Heavenly Father was done with us.
We were actually also going to adopt my 2 nephews that ended up being adopted by an American family, Eric and Thomas. We initially were going to adopt them, but then my sister in Costa Rica, Adriana, didn't like the idea that we adopt them. But we almost became a family of 3 within the first year.
Yeah.
It was in the plans, it just didn't work out. All children are different, and you cannot parent one child as you parent the others. Our oldest, Dilana, is very bright, and she is a world traveler. She did really well in elementary school, and student body president. In high school, she did really well, developed a lot of talents. I learned to speak 4 different languages. And then when she was 18 years old, and she graduated from high school, she decided to take a world trip with some of the friends she had met from around Germany and Switzerland and other friends she had met in Costa Rica. Some of her impressive attributes was her spirit of adventure.
We have a really smart and creative daughter that uses all those talents in our own family. She does plan our trips, and she does yearbooks for us, and she does a lot of great things for us, and she has a good heart. She focuses on family and the people that are more important in her life.
Our next child is Charles. Charles is an excellent singer. He also, when he was younger in school, his teacher came to have dinner with us, and she really adored him. In her school, his school, when they'd have talent shows, they say he'd be the next American Idol. And he's very spiritual, very sensitive to the things of the Spirit. His teacher also said that she wouldn't be surprised if he'd become the prophet one day, because he's such a kind heart. In school, as he went to even high school, their main complaint from the teachers was that he would come to school late because he was holding the door open for other students. In fact, he got an award for that, for the kindest student in the school, for being always looking for opportunities to serve others.
If you're in the same room with Charles, he want to make sure you're taken care of really good and you're happy, and like if he sees that you need help with anything, he's the first one to go and help. And Charles and I would love to play pickleball. That's our thing that we do together.
Jimmy is our athletic Mr. CrossFit, wrestler, mountain biker, swimmer, track and field. He really loves sports. He's very smart, very ambitious. Something I admire about Jimmy, how ambitious, how dedicated he is. He never had trouble in school. He would just do his work, his homework, had a lot of friends, helped a lot of his buddies. If they needed help with something, he'd help them. And he also served the mission just like Charles in Costa Rica, learned the language, and his mission president had many compliments about him and his dedication. He's a go-getter. If he has a dream and a goal, put Jimmy on it and he will accomplish it.
Also, Jimmy is very good at following the Spirit, I said. He's not very good at, he doesn't really like to show too much like that he's so spiritual, but he is. And I remember one day I was like, I raised all my kids. I was like, I'm always was a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a very protective mom, and I want to make sure my kids are happy and take care of it in every way. And so my kids were growing, and I was one day, and Jimmy did CrossFit at that time, and he invited me so many times to go with him, and I always say no because I was busy with something. And so, but I felt that day that I was doing dishes, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I need something in my life. And so suddenly Jimmy called me, and he's like, hey mom, I'm going to CrossFit. Do you want to come with me? And I'm like, and I was feeling like I need like something, and I felt like that was it. I'm like, yeah, I need to go and do more exercise and take care of myself now.
Daniela is our last child. She is wonderful. She's athletic. She is a good friend. She is kind. She is fortunate to have inherited pretty much all the qualities of her 3 older siblings, because she was never a real baby. When she was born, she was taken in by her older siblings, and so she skipped a whole childhood thing and went from being a baby to being pretty much a teenager. So she is sporty, athletic, spiritual, kind, loving. She loves adventure. She loves developing her skills. She's very smart in school, and she's made some hard choices, but always chooses the right despite popularity or media or what's cool in the world. She chooses to be herself no matter what, and she's an excellent young woman, and all her siblings are so proud of her.
Daniela, she brings so much joy to our lives. She's so fun, and she is involved in so many things, so she keeps us busy. And she also have a really, really good heart, like all my other kids. They all have beautiful hearts. And so one thing I like about Daniela, she is very mature in a lot of ways. And one thing that she is very good at thinking about it and her decisions, and even if sometimes she doesn't make the right decision right away, she does at the end, and she figured out things, and she likes to figure out things on her own. Well, the first spiritual experience that I ever have, I feel like I have many spiritual experiences. Before I was a member of the church, I feel like I had a good relationship with God. I didn't know He was my Father. I didn't understood that good, like I understand now being a member of the church. But I feel like I had a relationship with Him because I always prayed to Him, and like He was the one that I talked about everything that was truly in my heart. And so I did have a good experience. I feel like He listens to me, even if it didn't look like my life didn't look like wanted to be when I was young. And so I feel like I did have a good relationship, and I feel like I knew Jesus Christ because I always, for Easter, my whole Easter, I was just watching movies about Jesus during the break. It was really fun, and I really enjoyed getting to know Jesus better that way, my way, because I didn't know any other way, because I was Catholic, but I never went to church. But when the missionaries come to my house and tell us the gospel and tell us about the purpose of life, that was my first, that I can say, really big spiritual experience that I had.
My first spiritual experience, I grew up Catholic, and I learned to pray every morning, every night, since I can remember, since being a little boy. When I went on a mission, I was in the MTC. I'd already had my mission call. I was getting to know my missionary companions and the teacher. And then one of the questions they had, the instructor at the MTC, Missionary Training Center, going around the room asking people how many times have they read the Book of Mormon. And everyone was so proud. They raised their hands 5 times. We had a couple sisters. We had 3 sisters. They were like 12, 15, 17. I was like, and then they got to me, and I said, I've actually never read the Book of Mormon. I didn't know it was a pre-qualification to serve a mission. And everyone, the whole class broke laughing. The instructor thought I was funny, and he said, we have a class clown. And I was like, thank you. But I was telling the truth, I had never read the Book of Mormon from front to back. I read parts of it during church and some lessons, but I had never actually, I, Nephi, born of goodly parents, began all the way to the very end. I read 3rd Nephi, and so and then I was walking back, and I was walking back with my companion, and he said something like, that was really funny, Elder. That was you got the timing. I'm like, thanks, yeah. I was like, Elder Cabrera, he's like, what? He's like, I've actually never read the Book of Mormon, for reals. He's like, seriously? I'm like, seriously? What? No one told me I was supposed to read it. He's like, oh, you better read it, because you're gonna go teach about it. I'm like, no, I believe in it. I just, I didn't think I had to read the whole book. And so I started reading the Book of Mormon sincerely, and I read every day on my free time, and then I prayed about it. And I remember when I prayed about it, I felt this whole burning feeling inside of me that said, you've always known it's true. It is true. And I said, thank you, Heavenly Father. So that was my first, genuinely spiritual experiences. I mean, I've had a lot of whisperings of the Spirit here and there throughout my life. I feel like God has always guided my life. So whether I was Catholic or Latter-day Saint, but that was when I really felt the Spirit, without a shadow of a doubt, okay, thanks for the answer. So that's my greatest, I consider that my greatest spiritual experience.